Okay, I think we're on air. Hi, everybody. This is Nicola Grace, the Mission Mentor here, and I am joined with Janine Seymour, the Spirit Medicine Woman. Janine, hi, how are you?
Hi, Nicola. I'm absolutely wonderful and really, really looking forward to this. Whatever is going to be happening today.
Exactly. And for those of you who have been following me and usually come to my webinars and hangouts, you'll know I'm super organized and I have all these lists of things that we're going to do and what we're going to follow through over the hour and what the benefits are. But this time we've been directed to just throw all of the notes away because we're going to be bringing in some new material that both Janine and myself haven't brought in before, all around bringing in this new earth activation and healing. So we're going to do a bit of healing really soon and a little bit of quantum activism and really getting into this idea of because I know if you've heard the calling to be here, you know that deep inside at time when things start to get super crazy in the world and there's a lot of fallout and people are really getting lost and not understanding what's going on, that you incarnated to be here at that time to help people to make a difference and to do what's next. So in meditation just now, when Janine and I were tuning in with each other, Janine had this download of what she was going to be bringing forward today. Janine, do you want to talk about that right now so we can pass that on?
Yes. Thank you. Well, initially in the download was an incredible gratitude to Nicola for really hearing deeply the call within that it's our time to come together to bring forth what it is that we contracted to do many eons ago. So it feels really exciting. And I often show up. All I do is show up, and whatever need is to come through comes through. So but last night sitting in meditation, it was for us today, it was connecting to our bloodlines and our ancestral freedom and what that actually means. So today we're going to be working with that. I'll tell you more in a moment.
And the purpose for that will be to bring an end to the cycle of destruction on the planet, a cycle of destruction to many peoples on the planet and the creatures that are under our care. Because in order for us to come into what Eckhart Tolle has coined the phrase, the new earth, we need to know how to live in peace and in prosperity with everyone and everything. And that is the promise of the new earth. And right now, when you look out of the world and you see some pretty crazy things going on there without going into detail on what that is, you wonder, where is this new earth? When is it going to happen? And I'm really longing for that to happen because this world is getting crazier and crazier. It's infringing on my rights from every angle. And you wonder, are we actually going to have the promise that's given us? And one of the awakenings that's happened to me in my journey, very much so, was that we are the ones that we are waiting for. We can no longer sit back and leave it up to our so-called leaders or any idea that it's just going to happen naturally, because at the moment, if you're looking at the direction that we're going in, it's like it could go that way, it could go that way. And as a visionary, I don't actually know, what's going to happen, but I've always believed and I've always been very steadfast on a very positive outcome over this next hump that we're going to be going through. So we haven't talked too much about who we are, so we'll do that really briefly, and then Janine's going to come in with the healing activation, and then I'm going to come in and take that energy and open us up to our divine template of what our role is as a new earth facilitators, and bring that consciousness forward, and then show you how to actually permeate it out into the world so that we can see what we can do about creating a shift. And the more people that get together with us, that join with us in that intention, obviously the bigger shift that we can make. So once we've finished this, we're going to send out an email for everybody for the replay, and really appreciate it if you could share it with your people. So for those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I'm mostly known for being a keynote public speaker, a 5-time best-selling author, a winning mission strategist, and an intuitive visionary for spiritual and social entrepreneurs who have missions to make a difference and change the world in some way. I have a branding which is called Strategy with Spirit, and mostly I teach strategy. How do you find your life mission? How do you monetize that for maximum magnetic leverage, using the laws of nature to do that? And this part today is the spirit part, the part that I do, the shamanic part, the quantum activism part that you usually only teach to people who come to my workshops or who are my clients working with me one-on-one and in group mentoring sessions. And a couple of weeks ago, I just got a calling. I was on the healing table with my healer going through this massive shift, preparing for the next level of my work. And all of a sudden, it just dropped in like this light, literally just went boom, it's time. And I went, oh, okay, sort of stood to attention, it's time. And I really felt that that call went out to everybody. Our time has come. This is the time. There's no need for preparation now. We just need to remember our divine template, and that's what today's going to be about, first part. But I'll hand you over to Janine, and Janine's going to tell you a little bit about what she does, who she is, because I know some of you who are on her, in her community, know her very well, but people in my community, this may be the first time you're meeting her. And then Janine, why don't you just lead them straight on into to what you do?
Okay, beautiful. What an incredible woman you be. Thank you for the courage it has taken you to come to be to this place where you are now being able to hold and support others through. So Janine Seymour, I am Australian, but I've been living in New Zealand for 23 years. A label, a title that has come through and that I work with is a spirit medicine woman. And that is simply, I just bring through the energies and the messages from spirit. And I work with that medicine, and that medicine can be sound. My background is a long in medical and mental health, but I have found that sound can come in and annihilate and any kind of blockages that we have really, really quickly. I work with vibrational essences, and I'm just guided to travel all over the world to connect and create these, which are consciousness in a bottle, and they assist us to align really, really simply, because we can speak to you and you can get it in your head, but if we don't have ahas and feel it in our bodies, it's pretty challenging to really understand that. And I also speak the languages of light, and that is the energies that speak to your soul vibration. And we all have codes within us, and these languages of light come in to activate. It's like opening a new doorway back into you, because there's nothing that we have to do, or it's just simply coming in and remembering exactly who we are and why we're here. That's some of what I do. Some of the part that has brought me onto this path is I came to New Zealand to do a face your fear and do it anyway kind of 5-day running up and down a mountain, and how you run up and down a mountain is how you do life. So I was huffing and puffing, and that was pretty. I also did abseiling and bungee jumping and fire walking, but I did this thing called Kundalini meditation. Coming from a medical background, I had no concept of what that meant, but I had an instantaneous spiritual awakening, which just rocketed my very arrogant, structured, scientific self to the core. So that's been 23 years of understanding what that means, and it's and so it's been a transformational process of this is who I am and this is who I be in the world. But my passion has always been conscious connection and to assist humanity to awaken. And recently I just spent 4 months traveling around New Zealand, Australia, and in Bali, and I teach a workshop called Sensual Grace, which is about releasing everything that we are not. I'm a marriage celebrant of the soul, which will be a part of our retreat. A marriage celebrant of the soul is you coming in and partnering with you, probably for the first time, because you are definitely the one that you've been waiting for. And I've just found sitting in circle with so many women, this one was for sensual grace. It is about the deep yearning of going back into our original being and state. So that was wonderful. And healing and feeling all of these women sort of awakening. And I came back to New Zealand and was catapulted into bringing and co-creating with Nicola the awakening of mastery. And this is where we are. So it has gone so fast. And yes, and Nicola and I did, yes, we've met a few times physically, and it's been quite jiggly wiggly fun and kapow. So what does this mean? So we kind of had an inkling that we'll be doing something together in the future. So that is just a part of who I am right now. I can explain more. Is that enough of the biology?
I think so. I don't know about you, but the energy is starting to really intensify in my body, so I need to do something with it. So how about we just go straight on into healing? And for those of you who are watching us live, I can see we've got quite a lot of viewers here. I'd really appreciate it in the question and answer box there that you've got on the event page. If you would just say hi and let us know that you're here, it helps a little bit with connecting in with you. It doesn't mean we're not going to be able to connect with you if you're an introvert, but it would be really great to say, you know, hi, here you are. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect into all of those souls, beings, human beings, creatures that have agreed to work with Janine and I at this particular time, past, present, and future. So that if anybody is watching this activation and healing in the future, as a replay, you are still going to get the benefit of it. And a lot of people in my Quantum Game Changer program are usually watching the replay, and they always come back to me with phenomenal transformative results that they get with the replay. And that's one of the reasons why I always make sure I do that connection. So I'm just waiting for that connection. But in the interim, it'd be great if you could just put in the question and answer section, you know, your name, that you're here, and that you're connecting in. So Janine, I'll just do the connection and then I'll hand it over to you. Janine's going to do quite a bit of sound healing. It's going to bust up some blocks and do some healing there. And I can tell you her voice is just so heavenly, outworldly. When it comes in, we don't know if it'll shatter the technology or what's going to happen. It's because it's just such a really, really, really fine-tuned vibration. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha all. Love you all. See, back to Janine.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Yes. I just see you as the most exquisite angel. You really, truly are.
With a witchy
With a really wicked laugh. Ah, beautiful. So, is there any questions? Okay. What I'd really invite you to do is to be open to receiving this vibrational frequency that is going to be assisting you to remember you. And one of the easiest ways, because life is so simple when we get out of our head and come back into our heart, is to take a really deep, juicy breath. The breath is the lubricant back into the soul, and the soul is the one that knows exactly who you are and why you are here. The way that we breathe is exactly how we do life. Are we just gasping at life? Do we full belly breath, juicy, delicious, bring in life force? Most of us only breathe just to the top of our lungs. And that keeps us then in a state of constriction and often in flight or fright. So here we are trying to make a huge difference in the world, or even to show up and be in life in a state of constriction. So my invitation right now is to breathe right down into your belly, deep belly, for women, womb space. And I can feel that there's still a lot of blocks in the throat space within you. So please continue really deep belly breaths. down, down, deep into your belly. And I invite you, your breath to be really deep, deep and wide. Breathe deeply and wide, connecting to the parts of you that are already awake, that are already enlightened, the parts of you that are connected to everything and everyone. Big, deep breath. I invite you to surrender. Sir is for your highest, and rendering is meaning melt. Surrendering and melting back into the most expanded parts of you. Ras atasnia kata irisnia kata edasa atasnia kata yoto osalarsnia katia tate kasadari kasadara snika diata asidikata irarsonua kata yasa etisnia kata yasa etisnia tedesnia diata at otasnia kata irosnoya kata yata isnia kata yasa atisnia kata yasa etisnia kata isoroyasana akatia asa etisnia kata esnia te asnia kata irosnia kata isnia katurisna kata sana kata es edites nika da es nika ira sana ikete is nika de nika as nika the other nika de ata nika. You are also honored and welcomed, and thank you so much for showing up and the incredible courage that it has been for you, because we know that your pain and the work that you have been doing to get to this place, you are so truly, truly, truly honored. And a big part of the incredible struggle and the immense overwhelmment is, why am I still struggling so much with this? There's got to be more. It's because we are still connected in deeply to our original ancestral lineage. It's our bloodline which has brought us to this place, and that is magnificent. And we honor ourselves for our beautiful blood lineage. And it is also, we're predisposed to many other genetic, emotional, and intellectual and physical things that we've been predisposed to, and it's not ours. And yes, we have known this a long time intellectually, and we still haven't, many of us, disconnected from this entanglement. Arasana ikarasana ikatia satata asnikata isnia katia atasnia katia tata itatisnia kata it was artsnia katia ta is itisnia kata isnikata isnia kata yasna akata asnikata isasa asotasnia katia ta asnikata isitititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititititittit. It's time to start to really remember. It's remembering all of the members and the aspects of ourselves that are really, really wanting to come home. Many of them are within us now, but we still haven't turned all the light back on. Enlightenment is really simple when we get out of our own way. Enlightenment is, I am meant to be lit from within. It is that simple. Many of us forget to turn our lights back on. Have an intention, if you choose right now, to turn your light back on. It is near Katayata, it is near Katayas Nikatia, it is near Kata, Rosana Akatayata, is Nikata, it is near Kata, is Nikata, it did Arasnia These vibrational frequencies are cutting the lineage of your past. Have an intention, if you resonate with this, only to absolutely command your little 3D self to come into full expansion of the truth, the big being, the awakened self that is already here for you, waiting for us to get out of our heads and come back into full alignment with heart, head, womb, pituitary gland, Rasina akatia ta esnikata eresniakata esnikata itisnikata itisnikata is it at anikatayata rosne akata is itisniakatayata eresniakata. Big deep breath, and I want you all to sound out. Beautiful. And I invite you now to take a big deep breath, and I'd like you all to make your own sound, to sound out you, starting to connect to the incredible vibration that is you. This vibration that you can bring through is you, to align your spine, to straighten you up, and to vibrate all of this stuff that really isn't needed anymore. And it's a part of the lineage that we've just been chopping with all of those really interesting sounds. Big deep breath and sound out, please. And if you have water, please drink some water. Esana akatayata e, esana akata e, esania katayata e, esana akata. Just allow your body to become heavy. Just done really, really well. Breathing down deep into your belly, womb space, heart space, down into the base chakra, Dantian for men. Letting go of any trying thinking, shoulding. No, letting go of thinking. Being gentle, just being gentle, just being gentle. Allowing yourself to expand. And then there'll be just one more wave coming through. This is you, inviting you back home. You embodying you fully. You choosing you. You respecting you. For as soon as you can do that, then we can start, or you can start the work that you're really here to be. It is time to let go of everything that you are not and return back home to the divine, exquisite light that is you. It takes immense courage, because you'll be the first one in your lineage, bloodline, to come to this place. It's a very hard place to come to. I honor you for the work that you have done to get to here. And now, because you are choosing whatever words work for you, it is sovereignty. Some people, Nicola will explain sovereignty, but enlightenment. I am meant to be lit from within, from a really full-bodied place of me choosing me turning myself back on. Big deep breath. One more wave. You just settling into the alignment of the divine spine as we release the physical spine, or the divine spine and the physical spine coming into alignment more and more. Being gratitude for our bloodline and lineage. But now it's time for you to choose the full entitlement of you, the full enlightenment of you. Thank you, beloved brothers and sisters. Let's see what's next. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm buzzing, but I always do whenever you open your mouth. So, okay.
Yeah. How are others feeling, if they want to put that into the chat box?
Yeah, again, for those of you joined us a little later, there's a question and answer box underneath the video there of this event page. If you want to say hi, and you can just click on that box there and just let us know that you're here. And if you've got any questions throughout the rest of the time together, you're most welcome to do that. I'm just looking at where to go from here. I think that Janine and I have been called to put together a spiritual retreat, which we'll talk to you about at the end of the presentation, and give you an invitation to talk to us personally about it. And it's all really about stepping into the big being that we are, stepping into the super being. And this has been an awakening process that started for me in the late 80s, early 90s. And I read this book called Super Beings, and it was all about that there's an idea that at a certain stage in human evolution, these super beings were going to come onto the planet, and they would be able to do all of these mystical, magical things that would help us transition into a time of peace and prosperity. And when I read that, I didn't read it that was going to be somebody that I would meet or a super being that I met. My whole body just got goosebumps right throughout, and I just went, well, I am that super being. Like, this isn't a group of beings out there that are coming to save me. I am that super being. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that you are that super being, because you've heard the calling and you're here. So this is an awakening to the remembrance that we have spiritual powers that can allow us to really lead in a different way from leaders in the past, and in a very ethical way from moments in our history and in our sojourn where we have used that godly power, if you want to call it that, to do some very mischievous things. And it's time to use that godly power to really make sure that humanity survives and the planet is going to thrive and prosper. So this is really me stepping out to being that super being, to being the big being that I am, beyond my body, beyond my gender, and work with those who've agreed to work with me, shoulder to shoulder as those super beings to awaken to those creative powers. But it all starts with understanding the creative power of our mind, and then going deeper than that to pure consciousness. And I'm going to lead you through a process in just a moment that I invite you to do. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but the invitation is there for you. So just a really brief science lesson, first of all, because I think this is a really exciting time on the planet right now, because we've got science and spirituality converging. A lot of quantum physicists are coming out and talking a lot about things that our sages and our spiritual teachers have been telling us for quite some time. We know that we are one. We know that at some level, you and I are not separate from each other. And here's how exciting it gets. And here's how we can actually use this information to make a really big shift in the world right here, right now, you and me, all of us together. We are being told that within every atom and every cell, they have discovered these things called quarks. And inside those quarks, or the subatoms within the cells of our body and the cells of anything that's physical, the cells of creatures, it's also in the atoms that are in space. So that means this thing here is not separate from the space. Ooh, that's in front of me. I just got a bit of a chill. It's not separate. And it means this here is not separate from you. We're also being told that within 20 minutes, more cells that are in my body, that are in my body, or electrons within the atoms, have passed out of the atom itself and gone into it's gone into the next phase. So within 20 minutes, more of me, or more of my atoms, and therefore the consciousness of me in that quantum field, goes out and is now in your body, or in the space between you and I, or the space between you and somebody else. So we have been unconsciously going about thinking and going about raising our awareness, not always consciously aware that that is then seeding in somebody else. It's actually another aspect of ourself, another aspect of our one whole self. So what happens if we consciously go, okay, I am now going to allow my higher consciousness, my enlightenment, my I light up from within, to into those electrons as they pass out into photons and light and so on and go so forth and go into the next body, to the next creature, into space, into whatever. And we consciously seed peace and prosperity and love and harmony, and that remembrance that we have as New Earth facilitators to bring about, you know, that vision. If we consciously seed that vision, it includes everybody, that there is nothing rather than looking at all of the crazy stuff that's going on and focusing on that, because we know also from science that what we focus on increases. What would happen? Right? So let's give that a go. Why don't we do that? Why don't we start consciously doing that? So I'm going to invite you to do just exactly that. So for those of you who want to come on this journey with me, just imagine your body as a whole lot of atoms. So the body has cells, right? Comes all the way down to cells, and within the cells are these atoms. And within these atoms is this thing called electrons. And those electrons, once you apply intention and energy to them, they become photons. And if you don't know what a photon is, it's light. So essentially, whenever we're applying energy, we're going to light. We're taking from form and we're going into light. And also we can see consciousness in that as well. So here we go. We just imagine then that this body going down into the cells, going down into the atoms, it's just all atoms. This body is just atom. I'm just organized according to some intentions and some belief structures and some ideas in this physical form right now, but really it's just all atoms. And the space in front of me is atoms. And the people out there, the creatures out there are all atoms. So just take a moment. I'm going to be quiet in a moment. Take a moment to do that, to just imagine that. You might want to close your eyes if it's easier for you to see. You imagine that this is just all atoms. Networks of atoms in front of you in space. Just imagine all the people in the world. They're just atoms organized according to intentions, beliefs, and programming and ideas. Just all atoms. Whoosh, gotcha. Wah! Don't worry about those weird sounds, because I don't. Okay, now imagine that within those atoms, in the quarks, these subatomic particles of the atoms, in every cell of your body, imagine every cell of your body, there is a vortex, if you will, or a doorway, a pathway through these quarks into the unified quantum field. So I invite you to imagine that in every aspect of your body, the cells, the atoms, the quarks, you're going deep within those quarks all the way down to the quantum field of energy and consciousness. Just imagine that. Imagine going deep within. And that quantum field of energy and consciousness is the love, is the one source, is the creator, is the creative power. From love, not fear, it's from love. So just imagine bringing that love through the quantum field, through the quarks, back into the atoms, in every cell of your body, bringing up the love of the quantum field through every cell of your body. And then imagine that love specifically going into the electrons, as if the electrons were carrier pigeons. So all of the electrons in my body are now bringing in this love that's come in from the unified field. And then as the electrons are having your intention applied to it and energy applied to it, so you might want to move your body as you do, and just let it naturally release out of every cell of your body. Love, the consciousness of love. So we know that within 20 minutes, that consciousness is going to be in somebody else's body, in somebody else's atoms, in space, in other beings, in creatures. And I'm just going to take a moment to allow you to just let that release. And you may just want to take a deep breath in and then just blow it out, imagining light consciousness love releasing from every cell of your body, from every atom of your body, out into all the world. Janine, what's that noise, darling? Can you hear that?
Has it gone?
It's coming in and out.
Okay. I do hear a whirl. No, I don't.
Okay, so here's the thing. We've been told since 1929, actually, that whenever we observe something, that which we are observing is going to have an outcome very much integral to the thoughts, the intentions, the belief structures, and the expectations of those who are observing. So as quantum activists, which you are now, because you've just been initiated into the first phase of that, as quantum activists, we have a really unique opportunity, as now we have got that I am meant to be lit within. We have got that enlightenment. We've turned our lights on. We've turned our consciousness on, so that we know that when we release what's going on in our mind, that we are making a really big shift in the level of consciousness of the world. So we have a really big opportunity now as big beings to step fully into observing a different reality, observing a different outcome, observing the vision of the new earth that we want, the time of prosperity and peace. That is what the big challenge is for us, because I know as individuals, and I've certainly had a really tough time over the last few years with all sorts of nonsense going on, that we can get caught up in the littleness of our human experience, forgetting we're super beings, forgetting we're creators, forgetting that we join together at this time to shift Earth into a new reality, to the new Earth that Eckhart Tolle talks about. You and I together are the ones that are going to do that. We cannot wait for that to happen anymore. We can't wait for us to step fully forward into our role as New Earth facilitators. The time is now. Our time has come. No other time there is, and we need to be about it. And I understand that, you know, if the clearing hasn't been completed, you haven't cleared past lives or past beliefs and ideas and structures around being persecuted, speaking out, and you know, not being able to be your true identity because nasty things have happened, then that's the work that needs to be done, and it needs to be done quickly. And we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. But right here, right now, we have an opportunity, while we're in this vibration and this energy and this awareness, to shift some consciousness that's going on in the planet right now to an intention to enslave and enforce enslavement upon humanity. So that's just an idea, and it's just an intention, and it has electrons in it. And you and I know that we can send our electrons to those electrons. We can affect that by putting love consciousness, light consciousness into that. So here we go. I'm going to invite you to join me to send to this idea of the enslavement of humanity, the exploitation of our planet for profit or for what other intentions there are, and send light, love, consciousness, and the vision of peace and harmony and prosperity for all into that idea and shift that idea. We can observe that idea differently. So, well, I want to invite you to imagine in front of you this idea of, let's say, fascism, the enslavement of humanity, the infringement upon our rights. Just put it in front of you and imagine that those ideas break down to electrons. So you've got all these electrons, right, in front of you, and they go, and they're moving. And their intention is very different from our intention. So all we need to do is observe the compassion for that, because what would want to contract and control so much that it is willing to forego its love, it's willing to forego who it really is, one with me, right? Wherever that intention comes from, whoever that intention comes from, whatever that intention comes from, it's still an aspect of myself. It's still an aspect of you. So the damage that it's doing to itself. So what kind of creature or being would do that? Somebody who is very, very, very fearful. That's all it is. It's just fear. So it seeks to control because it's fearful of who it really is. So all we need to do is send it love, compassion, understanding, and then visualize a different way and a different outcome for it. So the way we do that is start by going within. We know that we can go into that quantum field through the quarks of every cell in our body, through atoms, and we pull up the love, the light consciousness from the quantum field, bringing it up through every cell of our body, every atom, and we can just release it through the electrons that become photons, this idea of love, compassion, understanding for that intention to enslave humanity. And we place that idea there and we just send out the light, we send out the love, consciously channeling into that idea, this idea of love. We're observing it differently now. We're observing it waking up to its oneness with us. We're observing it waking up to the idea that they're doing this to themselves. And why would you do that? That's a really weird thing to do. We're observing that the gain for coming over to the side of peace and prosperity for all and love, compassion, understanding is so much more attractive than the alternative. We're observing guns just being placed down. Whatever you want to do, whatever is in your heart to observe, whether it's fracking stopping and the owners deciding to repurpose their corporations, or governments pulling back and deciding to represent the people, whatever it is you want to observe, place it in front of you and observe the awakening of them to the oneness, that they are just doing this but to themselves. And they don't need to do that anymore. They can do something different and get a much happier, more prosperous, peaceful, loving outcome. And everything's going to be okay. Everybody's going to have more than enough. And we're observing this. As I'm talking to you, I'm visualizing this. I'm observing this. And I'm letting it just get sent out to that idea. And I'm watching it change. I'm watching existential crises of awakening happen all over the world, right here, right now. And I'm doing that with you. And whenever two or more are gathered, it is done, it is done, it is done. And then reminding yourself to stay centered and stay earthed. I'm a really big fan of being earthed, not grounded, not sending our energy down into the earth. Just stand on the earth and be earthed and be centered. here, concentrate everything here, be fully present in the body. In the mind, conscious, that everything that you think goes out. It goes out there, and it has the ability to create the world that we live in. In fact, it has been creating the world that we live in, because what we see out there is the lowest common denominator held at collective conscious level. So we change the collective doing this, raise the bottom, and then what's projected out there is the world that we live in changes, it shifts. That's the way it happens. And we're accelerating that because we're now doing it consciously. We're not allowing time to do it for us. We're not allowing concepts to do it for us or other people to do it for us. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We're doing it, and we're doing it right here, right now, by observing things differently. So it may get really scary out there for some people in different parts of the world, as it already is. We can help that by observing it differently. This is part of the awakening, and the so-called other side is just another aspect of myself, and I can influence it by sending it consciously. This vision of it being able to be different, this vision of them waking up and realizing that they are one. Why would you do this to yourself? It doesn't make any sense, right? And so this is what we do as quantum activists. Yes, we have to be about doing the physical, practical things that we do in the world. We need to add this consciousness a lot more to create the acceleration, because the two together are a really potent, powerful force. And as you start doing that, what will happen naturally, you start doing that process of observing differently, sending out, those lovely electrons to photons of consciousness, of light, love, compassion, understanding. The more you do that, the more you begin to awaken the super being within you, within yourself, to do other things. Whether you have a memory that one day that you could fly, or fold time and space, or do all sorts of weird and wacky things, whatever that memory is, this is the time that it starts filtering to the surface and coming fully into our awareness for the purpose of leading humanity into a much brighter future. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. Thank you, thank you. Janine, do you want to say anything more before we start opening up for questions?
Wow, what a beautiful speaker you be. So eloquent. Yeah, thank you. Yes, there is something really simple. It's really, really simple to start to understand is we can have an empathic heart, a sympathetic heart, or a compassionate heart. And where you be in that is how you project into the world. As we're just speaking, you were just speaking of, there is the empathic heart. And if you were to connect with somebody, and somebody who is having a problem, and you get in there and you feed it and you need it and you're sucky and you're bitching and moaning, you are absolutely feeding that karma and that drama. And that's most of many unconscious people. Then you can have the sympathetic heart, which is, oh, Betty, I am so sorry to hear that Barry is either sick or having an affair or not fully showing up. How can I support you with that? That's not feeding anything. That's just being really supportive. And there is what we're talking about, the quantum activist, is the compassionate heart. It is knowing that everybody in the planet is exactly where they need to be for the lessons that they're needing to understand until we come to a place that there's much more. But the greatest gift that we can give to humanity is the compassionate heart, is just filling yourself up and being so loving and loving and loving. Therefore, they can't hook onto anything or feed from that. So the compassionate heart, when you love somebody, it's just pure love. It gives them a potential to be able to move or do something very differently when they're not fed. Okay, that's me.
Great. So we're going to open up for questions while Janine and I talk a little bit about a retreat that we've got coming up called Awakened Mastery, what it's all about, who we're inviting to attend, and we'll give you an invitation to come and talk to us personally about what's going on with you and if you are a good fit for the retreat. But for now, I know that there are people that are struggling with some really wacky stuff. So this is your opportunity to put in the question and answer box what you would like to ask us or what you would like to present to us to help you get through that really quickly right here, right now. So it's no longer a shackle, it's no longer binding you. So I'm just going to keep pressing this question thing here to see who's putting in some questions, and we'll answer them as we go through. But as I said, Janine and I are doing a retreat in my hometown of the beautiful paradise of Noosa. It's one of the most beautiful places on the planet in November. It's 4.25 days, and it's something that I was really called to do in the middle of a healing. All of a sudden, it was like this energy of it's time to start training people in what you've been trained in, because I don't speak about this publicly, but since I was quite young, I've been aware that I've been undergoing training to do some really weird, wacky and wild stuff, and have done some really weird, wacky and wild stuff. And it started as a gymnast. When I was a gymnast, I used to do champion gymnastics, and I was training for the Commonwealth Games, which I actually never got to because I had an injury, but I was training for it, and I did a backflip. And as I did a backflip, I just went up into the air, and I ended up going all the way back. Like I could feel myself flying all the way back to the room. And then my mum came in and said, hurry up, it's time for dinner. And when I usually do my gymnastics stuff at the end of the day from school, I always used to have half an hour to have a shower and get ready for dinner. But this time, Mum came in, and I thought she came in early, and I said, hang on a second, dinner's usually at 6. It's only, usually 5:30. I've got half an hour to have a shower. And she said, no, it's 6 o'clock. So what happened when I was flying through the air, somewhere along the line, time collapsed. And I stood there, and I was 11 or 12 at the time, I think. No, hang on, I couldn't be 11 or 12. Where was I? 13. And then I sat there, and I stood there, and I looked at her, and I went, I think I just folded time and space. And I had this memory throughout my whole body that was a gift that I would be able to do. And then that was something that I actually put into practice. As those of you who know me, you know that I worked with the natural health industry to beat back legislation. For those of you who don't know the story, it was 2006, and for 7 years, legislation had been passing through the Australian and the New Zealand government to put together a corporation that would be formed in Australia to regulate natural therapies and pharmaceutical drugs under the pharmaceutical umbrella. Essentially, for New Zealand, what that meant is that natural therapies would come off the shelf, and they would no longer exist. So it was a bit of a takeover by the pharmaceutical mafia. So the legislation had all but passed. It had passed in Australia, was about to pass in New Zealand, and I ended up being in a meeting with a whole lot of people in the natural health industry. And I said, oh, I've got a vision for how this can be beaten. And it's like, well, we've tried for 7 years and nothing's worked. And I said, but, I've got this vision. I know how it can be beaten. And they said, well, it's too late because it goes to the third vote in New Zealand in 2 weeks' time. And I went, that didn't happen. Not that's not going to happen. I went, that didn't happen. And I was aware at the time of doing that I was doing something with time and space. And lo and behold, within 24 hours, somebody called me and said, the decision has been delayed. And I said, great, so let's implement my vision, which we did. And within 6 months, we defeated the legislation. It's completely gone. And now there's new legislation in place that ring fences natural therapies and natural products in New Zealand. It's one of the most liberal countries in the world for natural therapies. So while I did that, and all that time, and lots of other stories I could tell you about what's been going on and the training that I've been getting, I knew that I was being trained to teach others to do stuff like that. But we can't do that from a point of lack of personal integrity and morality. Otherwise, we'll do what we've done in past lives and blow up planets. And I think some of you probably have memories of doing wild and wacky stuff like that. That's over now. This is a time of integrity. This is the age of integrity. So we've had a journey to come into our own personal morality and integrity to prepare for the time where we can do some really wild, wacky stuff and remember our higher abilities, remember our spiritual gifts, and give them to the world. So in the so I'm just going to check if anybody's got any questions there. In the retreat, I'm going to be training you in what I was trained to do, training you to remember what are your special gifts, what are your ability to affect massive change in the world, to raise the consciousness. And it's a retreat very much for people who've already been on a path of spiritual awakening, that you've come so far in your own clearing and healing, and that you're ready to step up fully into the remembrance of being that super being, having those so-called superpowers. Let's get dramatic about it, because we do like a bit of drama, we humans, don't we? and use that to be a very powerful force for good in the world. And I know we invite you to go and have a look at that retreat to see if it's something that you want to participate to and you feel called to do. And you'll see a link under this video, in fact, just across my name there, awakenedmasteryretreat.com. And right at the bottom of the page there is a link there to set up a discovery session with myself and Janine, where we can discuss together your suitability. You can ask any questions and just have some time to speak to us in person. And go ahead and ask any questions that you want right now as well, about the experience you had or about what you're struggling with in the world. So I'm just collecting all of these questions, but nothing's coming up. So I don't know if the app's not working. So I'm going to go over to the event page and head you over to Janine. Janine, do you want to talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing in the retreat?
Certainly. There's a lot I don't know that I'll be doing. There is one of my passions is connecting people back into the breath. That is connecting you back into the soul space. Another part is connecting us back into, for women, the womb space, which is our very, very deep wisdom and remembering, and for the men, the harder area. Another passion that I'm guided to do, and is as a marriage celebrant of the soul, I have married hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people globally to themselves, and that's a pretty exquisite experience. Is some, but huge amounts of clearing, whatever is needed to clear. It's a tiny bit of my story growing up. A part of it was I was a lot outside, and I spent a lot of time on horses and trees. So that taught me omnipresent. That was my very, very safe place. I was sexually abused at an early age, and that's been one of my greatest gifts. It has kept me outside of my body. And so therefore, from a very early age, I was able to talk to the stars, and I thought everybody else did. And when I was younger, up until about 18, I saw everybody had a film right next to their head, and so I could see their whole lives. And I thought everyone saw that until I realized they didn't, and so I shut that down. My background is also, thank you, Nicola, because I was studying naturopathy at the time that you were out there changing that immense system and really empowering us to be responsible for our own health, not allowing. Anyway, that's another big story that we'll be working with as well. Yeah. So my background was medical, and worked a lot in mental health, and then I did naturopathy. I was then diagnosed with cancer myself, and so that was an amazing journey. So it's one of the gifts that I can bring through is to assist the ways that I was guided to heal and assist others in doing that, and understanding why we created sexual abuse. What does that mean, and how? And so some of the processes of and the other. Why have I connected with cancer and disease, etc., and understanding a radical forgiveness process, which is so incredible. We'll be doing something there as well. Right now, I'm basically an earth walker. I walk barefoot most of the time. My soles are what gives me a lot of, well, it's earthing, as you were saying. I've tried many times to have a clinic, but my clinic is wherever I walk. And what I have been doing is, as Nicola was talking about, is using the quantum energy as a quantum activist. Not that I really like those words, though. It sounds interesting. Just an earth walker, being turned on and going to some of the most isolated places, and it being lonely, but having a very deep connection with Mother Earth. And I am an ambassador for the base areas, and one of my things is connecting people back into their earthing, their feet, their understanding, clearing all the past lives and lineages of the base area. And what else?
I like, Janine, I like that you talk about the base area, because as we know, it's all about the base, about the base.
Yeah, so we're going to do a lot about the universe. We're doing, there's something we're talking about, clearing the universe, so the meaning, and working a lot with the reseeding and the testicle verse as well. So I don't know, that's too much information, but we'll be working with rebirthing very consciously and new, and so much more. Thank you.
That's fun. So the 4 days are going to be split up between 2 days of massive clearing and healing and preparing the vessel, preparing the mind, preparing ourselves to come into the creative being that we are, and there'll be massive transformation really occurs whenever, Janine works with people personally, and when I do as well, but the two of us together with you, because we know a lot of people coming to the retreat will be facilitators themselves. We've got speakers, we've got healers, we've got shamans, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs who are out there, spiritual entrepreneurs that are making big changes in the world. So the big beings are gathering to remember that we are big beings, because it's just getting too difficult for us to do anything else. And the first 2 days will be a lot of clearing. We'll have clearing practitioners walking around the room, helping people just get up to speed if we've still got personal stuff that we need to deal with, clearing the universe and all of the annihilation that's gone on in the universe, clearing the testiverse and all of the annihilation that's gone on, and the male lineage of the body being used as a weapon for corporate greed and elitist greed and king's greed. So we'll be clearing that and getting everybody up to scratch. And then we'll be doing a day of connection, which will be a deeply spiritual, sacred day of connecting with self, and it will end in the sacred ceremony of the marriage to the self that Janine's going to lead. And then on the final day, we're actually going to spend the whole day changing the world, doing a lot of different quantum activism stuff, getting into you being able to use the exercise that we did today, plus there'll be some other processes that I'll be teaching you, where we will make big shifts in the world, and we'll have a look and see what impact did we make over 24 hours, a week and a month. Because whenever I do this work, I will see something that shifted in the world, and I will know that I had a conscious part in the creation of that. And you may have had the same thing happen to you as well. So we're going to spend a whole day really shifting and moving the earth and using our super being powers to release the memory of the new earth that is good for everybody and that everybody loves. So I can see we've got some questions coming in, and for those of you who didn't hear me the first time, there's a question and answer box that you can click, and you can put in your questions that you've got, and we'll spend a little time going with that. Any thoughts on the changes in energy between the times of 11:11 and 12:12 and now, having done many meditations, quantum for healing the earth in the past, the energy feels different now, or maybe it's just me. Hey, Michelle. Yeah, look, I actually did a video in 2010 on what the significance of 11:11:11 is, that it is a major signpost that mammoth change was going to occur. And since 11:11, since 2011, the world has changed dramatically. And it signposts to polarity, that there is going to be a polarity between the old and the new, and that polarity is going to get further and further apart. So if you're feeling very different, if you're feeling very positive and excited about what's happening, and there's a lot more prosperity and a lot more amazing things happening in your life, you're experiencing the moving away from the shattering of the old earth and coming into the new earth. So you're experiencing the polarity of what is new and what is being born, and the energy is very different. And I know certainly in my business in 2012, I'd have people coming to me wanting consulting on their business, about their marketing and their advertising and all that kind of stuff. And then in 2012, all of a sudden, about 95% of business owners coming to me for an intuitive visionary session were asking, what am I supposed to be doing? I'm being called to do something higher. I feel like it's time for me to step up to my higher purpose, or I know I'm here to do something, but I don't know what it is. I feel like I need to be doing more meaning, giving back. So it was like this explosion. The light got turned on within us to go, oh, that's right. I remembered that I did something really big at this stage. I did something where, where I was making a much bigger difference in the world. So you got called into higher world service. So that was a big energy shift that happened, that I saw personally in my business. And now everywhere you go on the internet, you see people are doing life purpose workshops. People are doing, I teach Monetize Your Mission. And there are more and more teachers and coaches that are talking about that, being on purpose, cause-driven activity, cause-driven businesses, social enterprises. And that's exploded. And what's also exploded is social entrepreneurship. It's given birth to this industry of social entrepreneurship, which is the area that I live in. And so that is the polarity. The old earth's coming over here and the new earth is here. And on our website, Awaken Mastery Retreat, you'll actually see a photo of the new earth taking off. So you're experiencing different energies because you're coming into the positive polarity, and it's just going to get further and further and further away, because that's what happened during the shift of 1911 and 1911. Is that right? Yeah. And there was a big polarity between the Luddites and the people going into the industrial era, and then now there is this real separation for those that want to continue to be in separation, and those that want to come into the understanding that we're all one. And the golden rule that Jesus taught us all that long ago, and do unto others as you would have them do unto you, unless you're a masochist. So Michelle, does that answer your question? No, it's not just you, hun. It's all of us. We're all experiencing something different. Janine, did you want to say anything to that question?
Well, that was pretty magnificent answering. But one little simple thing is the DNA. Our DNA had shifted so much at that time, as we are actually getting a lot more light fractals and a lot more light energy penetrating our own bodies. So that would have created a lot of things, a lightness, and we could see more clearly and understand things differently. But when you bring a lot of light in, it also shines down onto, some of the darker stuff that is our beautiful gifts that want to be seen and brought to the forefront. So that is a part of a big shift that has been happening for self. And then that permeates and goes into everything that you just said. That's
cool.
me.
Excellent, thanks. So is there anybody else that's got a question or something that you want to present to us? Otherwise we'll sign out for now. And as you know, because you are an awakening master yourself, that the more of us that get together and do this work and set these intentions out into the world, then the faster this acceleration into the new earth is going to occur. So we'd really appreciate it for losing my words here, if you share this video. So it's going to be on YouTube now, and we'll send something out to you that you can share on all of your social media platforms, because this is now recorded. It's available for everybody. We would love this to get out far and wide. And for those of you who feel called or resonate with some of what we've been saying and want to learn more about the retreat we've got coming up in November, you can head on over to awakenedmasteryretreat.com, have a look at it, and then right at the bottom there is an invitation there for you to have a conversation with Janine and I personally, and you just set up a time on our online calendar for that. And other than that, I think it's probably time for us to move on with our day or evening, wherever you are in the world. Janine, is there a final thought you'd like to add? Oh, Janine.
Just, am I there? Yeah, just incredible gratitude for showing up, because technology is not my thing and being seen is not my thing. I'm an earth walker, and so coming out of hiding is what I've been called for, and so I'm very grateful for this opportunity. And look forward to hearing any questions, or anybody wants any assistance with unblocking and doing some deeper healing. There's an invitation, and you can see the link there. And look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you, Nicola. That's me.
Okay, thanks, Janine. And this wouldn't be happening without you. So I am so deeply, deeply, deeply grateful for you. I love you, sister. And I'm really excited to be doing some more work with you. And for those of you who have tuned in, I love you too. And I look forward to, maybe if you're a little bit of an introvert and you want to ask a question, I look forward to receiving that via my email or, some other way on social media. Because usually when we do these things, not many people ask questions. And then I go to social media and I got a flood of people that have contacted me personally. So I don't know what that is about me attracting all of these introverts, but I honor you and I totally understand. But I want to encourage you to do the work to get to the point where you are emanating this quantum activism, you're emanating your light in the invisible zone, which is the ultraviolet light, not the white light, and so that you can do what you need to do without being seen. You can walk the world without being seen, and do what you need to do, because it's time. This is the time that we did this. It's time to come out of the shadow and fully present in the work that you're doing, and make some really big shifts here. And I've just got one more question before we go. Oh, thank you, Meredith. You're welcome. So blessings, everybody. Have a fantastic day, evening, wherever it is you are in the world. And we'll see you later. Bye for now.
Bye for now.